What's good? What's good? Let's see. Did he start it yet? Sports talk in the metaverse with Fumble Sports. He should be starting the space. What he's doing. It's the dog in me. Sports talk in the metaverse. All right.
Hey, Metadrip,
All
welcome
right. We're
to
getting
Week
audio.
5 preview,
Cool. All
and
right.
welcome to everyone who's joining us
This.
on Spatial. Excited to go through the list of games on this week. But first, I want to go through some of last week's disappointments and good plays. We had a very successful week when it came to betting, cashed on a number of tickets. Cincinnati, we got Minnesota, we got Baltimore, we got because we bought the points, had the under in the Giants Bears game, which was successful. Also hit money line with Dallas and Philly, as well as the Raiders and Green Bay. The Jets and the Titans were two plays I was especially proud of. Bought the points in both games, but didn't need them. Good wins for both teams. As for the split tickets, got the Chargers on the money line. I thought Houston, especially on the backdoor cover, was going to happen. Didn't quite get there, unfortunately. That said, I'm really excited about where Davis Mills is going in terms of an against the spread play. So I will continue to look for the Houston Texans in the future. And the one bust of the Sunday ticket was the Detroit Lions money line. Had them on the money line. Didn't get that obviously, but got the Seahawks, bought the points on Sunday morning, so that was successful. Didn't get last night's game, but I didn't bet it as a solo game. I didn't have a good feel given coming off the playoffs, given that the Rams had beaten the 49ers. I was surprised that the line was set where it was. And the 49ers obviously not only have the history they do against the Rams, but added to it. So those are some of the cash tickets that we had last week. And the one bust that I was disappointed in, the Lions didn't quite get me there. But moving to week 5, we're going to preview the games to come, talk some fantasy, as well as a few prop bets that could come out your way if you play it correctly on the odds. We're going to start with the Thursday night game. The Colts 1-2, 1-2-1, I should say, against the Broncos traveling to Denver. And this game opened at 3.5 points with the over under set at 43.5 points. Jonathan Taylor, questionable for this game. Heard that he was in a boot today at practice. That gives me even more reason to like the Denver Broncos. The line at 3.5, I'm not crazy about, more because I don't like Denver's offense. The injury to Javonte Williams will be significant, but I like buying this down. I like getting it 2.5, 2 points. That's the play. If you can get it under a field goal, I like the Broncos. The under has also been a very popular play on the primetime games. I believe it's 9-4 now. I'm sure you can find it on Twitter. I believe it's 9-4. And I like the under in this game. 43.5 seems high enough already. But for those who follow me on TikTok, Twitter, anywhere else, I like buying a point and a half, getting a little extra security. So I'd buy that up to 45 points. So I like the under 45 points in the Thursday night game. Some gambling trends to share with everyone because I know that's what you come to some of these Twitter spaces for when it comes to my content. The Broncos are 11-4 against the spread in their last 15 Thursday night games. I really like Denver at home. I like Mile High. I think the Colts are also coming off a bruising loss against the Titans, and this would be a great bounce back opportunity for them if they were at home. But the fact they have to travel to Mile High, don't like that. That said, a gambling trend that goes against that theory, the Colts are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games following a straight up loss. That countering that, the I mentioned earlier the under. The under is 9-0 in the Colts' last 9 games overall. So the under is just a great play here. That's the bet I'm making first. If I had a best bet on this game, it would be the under 45 points. And if I'm going to bet the teams, it's Denver -2 after I buy it down. I think that's a great early play if you can get it tonight. It's Tuesday, and this is an opportunity to get an early line. I think that's going to be bet more in favor of Denver as the week goes on, as we get closer to kickoff. So it's an early bet I'd like to make. Also want to welcome Blease to the space. Anyone else who wants to speak, feel free to jump in. I can rattle on. So, Blease, what do you think about this game?
Hey, what's good, everybody? Yeah, I see Metaware Drip in here and some other friends. What's up, NGMI Mike? We're also uh sports talk in the metaverse right now as well, and spatial. So we got the graphics up here, and it's really great to, kind of see the graphic and what you're talking to here about the game. Yeah, Thursday games are just so tough, I feel, and I like your play on the under though. I think that the defenses will prevail in this one. And even like the Colts winning against Kansas City, that was a low scoring game. It was 2017. So, if they're going to stay in that, I think I like your underplay there.
Mike, what's up? What do you think about this game?
Honestly, I like your take. I think this is a good bounce back spot for the Colts. I don't really believe in anything the Broncos are doing this year. It I feel like the Colts are just going to be this kind of like back and forth team. Like they could either look like one of the better teams in the NFL, or they could look like whatever the fuck they look like against the Titans this week. But it's hard to say. I think. I mean, I would stay. I would try to stay away from this unless there was some weird price action leading up to the game. I do think it's interesting that right now you got 90% of the money on Denver on the under, which we'll see how that moves around. It's still early. These are numbers just to monitor at this point, but I would have to see something significant with the price action to even be interested in this. But I would lean Colts. I would lean under.
I mean, the Colts are surprisingly a top 10 defense statistically. I know at times it hasn't felt that way, but it really has been Matt Ryan who's just been letting them down. If they had any quarterback production, I would feel really good about them as a team overall, and I would think they would be able to get out of this early 1-3 hole or 1-2-1 hole. I keep forgetting that tie. I always count it as a loss because it was to the Texans and it was an assumed win, so I feel like it was even worse. But that said, I love the under in this game in part because we're just seeing how the primetime games are being called. And it feels like this year the NFL is way more comfortable with letting teams not have these massive scores. There isn't as many flags. They want to play a cleaner game. I find that there's also a lot more run plays. Is it just me, or they're calling a lot of run plays in what used to be shotgun spread set? We're gonna, go downfield in 5 plays. Now I feel like everyone wants a more methodical drive. So I just feel like these, and also to add on to it, I feel like Russell Wilson is still figuring things out. Like he's not who I think him to be. Like he's not throwing downfield to Lockett. He's not throwing downfield to Metcalf. The way he even uses Cortland Sutton is more of a 15-yard route guy. And I like Sutton a lot, but he needs to attack more. Jerry Jeudy needs to be more involved. So.
Yeah, I kind of like after the first few weeks, I watching Denver's defense, I was like, I feel like Denver's just going to be this team. It was after the Niners game, and I was like, the Denver. I feel like Denver is going to could potentially be this team that somehow wins like 10 games or 11 games somehow, and every single one of them is just uglier than shit. Right? They just win a shitload of ugly games. Last week, was pretty bad, but I don't know. I mean, I find it hard to believe that Russell Wilson's not going to figure it out to some extent. And if he does just a little bit, as good as their defense is, they're going to win a bunch of games.
Their defense is really solid, and Patrick Surtain is one of my favorite players in the NFL right now. Like he is really emerging as a lockdown corner. He's just awesome, and like he really can take someone out of the game. Can't wait to see him up against Pittman. That said, one of my favorite bets of this week, Shout out to Cody and Bet3 because I know he loves these kinds of plays. Matt Ryan over half an interception. Like, book it, lock it. I feel so good about that right
Right.
now because I feel like, especially on the road,
Damn.
you just feel like Matt Ryan's going to have I hate to say it, but an old man moment where the pass rush will be in his face, and rather than holding on to it, he's just going to throw it up, and it's just going to be an easy floater pick. Whether it goes to the house is another story, but part of me likes a defensive score in this game as well, just not with the same conviction.
Some of these interception props are wild. Like there was the one on Monday night with Stafford at a half. Like I'm not a big prop guy. I tend to stay away from props. I don't really like them. But like, is that like common? Is it like the half, like a half an
Yes,
interception?
and
Is that the
that's exactly why I like that play,
you
Mike.
you can hammer those things. I mean,
That,
Stafford for a half of an interception. That dude literally like he made a career of throwing like 4 touchdowns and 2 to 3 interceptions every single game. Like,
and
like
there
I
is
don't
a
know. That's
formula
wild.
to it, which is like offensive line trouble, check. A quarterback who is kind of gun shy in the pocket these days, check. And not enough targets, that he feels comfortable going to. So he's always going to kind of go to his guy, check. And Matt Stafford hit all of those. I felt like that was one of the easiest bets of the week was Matt Stafford throwing a pick last night. Again, it's just a question of does it go 6? And then you can really make some money. If you have enough conviction he's going to throw a pick, is it at the wrong part of the field and does it go to the house? Because that's the money. But
Right.
to your point, you can hammer. Those are the prop bets I like too. I'm not crazy about yardage because
Yeah.
there's a lot of other factors involved. What's the game plan? Are they trying to target a certain corner? What's the weather? There's just a lot of reasons for me to fade those. At the same time, interceptions I feel good about, and sometimes touchdowns. Sometimes they'll set a touchdown at like 1.5 for a quarterback, and if you just feel like he's gonna be the red zone guy, well, then that's the better play. But we're going to shift over, move on to the London game, Sunday morning, 9:30. Another great opportunity for the East Coast to get a feeling of what it's like to be on the West Coast and wake up to football. The Giants are 9.5-point favorites. The over-under set 41 points. We don't know who the Giants quarterback is going to be for this game. Daniel Jones dealing with an ankle injury, and I'm sure other injuries as well. And I think they brought in Jake Fromm. Tyrod Taylor's dealing with a concussion, so I don't expect him to play. Jake Fromm being your option, and you're going, a long flight across the sea and dealing with the Green Bay Packers. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to get the win. The 9.5 is what's interesting because we saw the Packers struggle a bit against the Patriots this past weekend, and I feel like Vegas is baking that in, understanding that Rodgers is going to bring out the best in his team this week of practice, and that 9.5 might actually be a good play because this feels like a double-digit win for the Packers. What do you think, Mike?
I literally feel exactly the same way. Like you look at it at first glance and you just think there's no way, and that right there makes me think it's the Packers are going to win by 21 or something. I'm seeing that it moved to 8.
That would be fantastic because then obviously
So
I would buy that down, and now I'm getting a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I saw right here. I'm seeing it open at 7.5, and it's anywhere from 8 to 8.5. There's only one book that has it at 9.5 from what I'm seeing.
I was
yeah,
obviously taking this off Bovada, and I'm putting this in. So public money is going to be driving that. And I'm sure if you're looking on some of the daily fantasy, like the DraftKings, the FanDuels of the world, that's really going to move faster.
Well, this is what's interesting. I use scores and odds. So right now the money's leaning Green Bay, and it went up a little bit. I guess it's not. I guess it's moving pretty steady with where the money is now that I'm looking at it. But yeah, I'm with you. I think this just screams massive blowout to me. I mean, if Jake Fromm plays, I mean, he does have the familiarity with Brian Dable, where he was up in Buffalo for a year or two, whatever. But still, I mean,
that doesn't give me enough confidence because that had been,
let's
also put it this way: if it had been someone who had been in the league for like a decade and was like an established vet. I hate putting it this way because I'm giving him too much credit still, but like Geno Smith is a better example of like, okay, if he has a history of the offense, at one time he
Right.
was a starter, but Jake Fromm just coming in kind of a spot start role, that actually concerns me more because I feel like he's not ready for a Packers defense that's pretty legit. I mean, I know they've struggled against the run game, so Saquon could have a decent game, but I feel like he's due for a pick.
Yeah, I mean, I was throwing that out there just more as as a transparency note, like for the game. But like, I agree. I mean, this depending on where this line goes, this might be like a favorite pick of the week type game.
Definitely on the
But
money line, a favorite pick of the week. Giving some gambling trends. Giants are 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games overall. The Packers are 7-2 against the spread versus a team with a winning record. The favorite is 4-0-1 against the spread in the last 5 meetings between these two teams, and the over is 7-3 in their last 10 meetings. I don't have a good feel for the over/under set at 41. I feel like that's an underplay. But again, I feel like Aaron Rodgers and the Packers offense could come out and put on a day. I feel like they missed on just a few passes last week against the Patriots, where if they had just made those catches, I feel like we're talking about a completely different performance. And they weren't that far off. I know the pick six made things look much different, but if Dobbs makes that catch in the end zone, and was it Watkins who had the drop earlier in the game? There was the touchdown drop, and then there was also a long drop along the sideline. If those two plays go in, then we're talking about that offense completely different. Obviously, it doesn't go to overtime. So I just feel really good about the Packers in this game because I almost feel like it's a bounce back the way people are talking about their game last week, which is crazy. Blease, you got any takes on this game?
Not really. I was just looking at something that was interesting of total field goals. I know that's pretty obscure, but 1.5 for the Giants. I feel like that could easily go over, no? I mean, I think even if they do move the ball, they could get stalled in the red zone and not score, because of what you're saying with Jake Fromm. But what are the Saquon Barkley props? I think I'd
I
like to
mean,
hammer that.
the only thing, just real quick with that would worry me a little bit is that if this game if this game does get a little bit out of hand, they're not going to be kicking field goals. Like they're going to be forced to play a little bit more aggressive, play 4 downs, even if it's 4th and 5.
I don't know about that only because Brian Daboll I like Brian Daboll a lot. I think he's a great coach. I think he's really smart, and I think he understands the kind of the unspoken language of the NFL, which is in a game like this where you may be dealing with your third string quarterback in that role, you're just trying to put on a good show. Kind of like the Patriots last week. I think a lot of what happened last week is you're trying to put on a good show. You're obviously being competitive, but you're also not trying to get your team embarrassed. And if you're throwing all the time or if you're not taking points when they're available, you almost lend yourself for an even greater embarrassment. And I think he may be overly conservative at times, in which I kind of like that overplay because I feel like they could try longer field goals like we saw in London last week, where you're talking about 55, 60-yard field goals, almost because he's trying to just get points wherever he can. I agree with you, Mike, in that it could get out of hand early, and that would change the dynamic. But I mean, if we're really being degenerates, I like the over on
Yeah. I mean,
giant field goals in that game.
being degenerate, yeah, but that's just one that I would just stay away from. Like, I think the over looks good, but
you're not, using a dirty needle to inject over under field goal kicks by the Giants into you.
Yeah, I'm not there mentally, no.
So moving on to games in which we are more inclined to bet, I'm going to go straight to a better game in the 1 p.m. window. And I know this may sound crazy, but I make it the Dolphins and Jets. That's a game that kind of intrigues me because from a betting standpoint, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here. The Dolphins are 3-1, but it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. The Jets are 2-2 and have Zach Wilson in his second start of the season. Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites. Over under set at 44 points. I'll get to betting trends in a minute, but I really like this game from a Jets standpoint. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I actually think they're riding high right now. And I think the money over the week is going to go towards Miami. I think you're going to get a lot of bets on Miami. And this is one in which I'm waiting for the opportunity to buy the Jets to cover. I think Miami will probably win. I think Teddy Bridgewater will be a great game manager and use Tyreek Hill and Waddle's speed in open space and use it against the Jets. But I also like the Jets. They've got more weapons than people think. You know, Garrett Wilson is a talented receiver. Hall and Carter at running back is a nice duo. And I think Zach Wilson is feeling himself right now. And it could go one of two ways. He could throw 4 picks in the first half, or he could have a pretty good game. And to me, I feel like the latter is the way I'd lean, especially if you can get money pushing that spread in favor of Miami. Mike, what are you thinking about this one?
Well, so what I'm seeing right here, just numbers wise, right? So it opened at 6, and heavy money is coming on Miami to eat that up.
It
right?
opened at 6 because people thought Tua could be back, but that
Right.
That's a false.
Yeah.
It really is like what's it set at right now?
It's set. I'm seeing it at 3 with 95% of the money on Miami. So what I'm seeing is that 6 just got eaten up, right? I kind of, this is another tough one for me because, like, are the Jets getting some respect with this line because they've won a couple games, because they do have some talent, because they did get Zach Wilson back, even though he didn't have, he finished the game well, but he didn't have it's not like he played out of his ass or something. Is Teddy not getting enough love here? It makes me kind of like Miami.
On a money line play or on a spread play?
On a spread play. Obviously, I take him. If I was going to take the money line here, I'd probably take the Jets. But
interesting, because I feel like I'm seeing Miami at -170. So as a money line play, I actually feel like that's pretty solid, given that Miami's probably still the better team.
If I'm getting 3 or more here, I like the Dolphins. I think that Teddy Bridgewater is better. He's better right now than fucking Zach Wilson, and the Dolphins team is better right now. They may win by 3. It might be a push, but I think the Jets coming off a win, the Dolphins coming off of drama. This line is kind of representing that a little bit, which makes me like the Dolphins here with that at 3. I think realistically, it's more of a 5 in my mind, even on the road. So I like 3.
Matt, thanks for joining Stepping Up. What do you got for this game?
Yeah, really happy that I came across your Twitter account. Love the trends. Trends are definitely much better than my gut feeling. All of that said, I hate betting against home divisional dogs. Historically, I'm not sure if you have the trends. It's just terrible. And in this case, it would be betting against the Jets not to cover. That said, I think it's a tough game. A lot of outliers with Tua out. Obviously, just the coaching staff in general. A lot of people pointing fingers. So I don't know. I kind of think it's interesting that you like the game. So I'll probably go with whatever the trends are telling us. That said, I think there are some outliers here to call out.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, it really depends on what this number ends up at, right? Like, if it moves down, then I definitely like the Dolphins. If it moves
down, I love the Dolphins. So one of the reasons I actually called out this game, because the 1 p.m. window has a number of crazy games in which I feel like it's a little bit obvious which way you could go. This is one of the ones in which it's a great point to kind of get into, because they're 2 teams that are going in different directions based off of last week. But if you take them on roster talent and what you know from the past, 4 weeks, you feel differently about the game. So 3.5, I just thought was perfectly placed. If it moves down, I'm with you, Mike. If I can get this at Miami -2, if that were possible, I would definitely take Miami. But if I can get this, right now I'm, classic me, I'm buying a 1.5 up. If I can get that line to move to like 6.5, after I buy it up, that's a decent place for me, because I could feel it being a two field goal difference.
Yeah. So a few trends here. Dolphins are 8-2 against the money line their last 10 against the Jets, 7-2 against the spread in their last 9, and the under is 7-3 in the last 10. The unders here is I'm seeing it at 44.5. I actually really like the under there.
I've also got a couple of trends for you since we're hitting them. Jets are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 home games versus a winning team. And that's an interesting one for me because it tells me that they play up to their competition just enough. And I think that's kind of the play they're at. I like Miami on the money line. And I actually think minus 170 isn't bad given that they are the better team. I mean, we were talking about them as an AFC contender a week ago. And, no offense to Tua while he's going through concussion protocol, but is he really that much better than Teddy Bridgewater? Yes, in terms of some ways, but others, like, no. He throws picks Teddy Bridgewater wouldn't. He also can make throws that Teddy Bridgewater simply can't. So to me, it's more about the roster talent for the Dolphins, and it's there. I just think they're going to be a more conservative team. The over-under, that one I'm not touching on this game because I feel like 44, again, am I getting crazy Zach Wilson? Like, am I getting Yosemite Sam Zach Wilson who's just throwing it all over the field? Or am I getting, dink and dunk to like Breece Hall? That's one of the things I liked about last week is when he actually had really successful drives at the end of the game. He was looking towards his running backs and he was playing – I still like young quarterbacks to go by the Tom Brady model. Find Kevin Falk, like find the running back and let him go find 15 yards for you. You don't have to throw 50 yards on every play. You're going to throw picks, and that's not the name of the game. You look at the young quarterbacks who have succeeded, Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, they didn't throw picks for weeks on weeks on weeks, and that's the way you need to play. Don't take the high risk. So for this game, you can hear it's kind of about where the public money comes down. Blease, any takes on this game?
I just have a quick fantasy question talking about the Jets. How do you like Conklin, in this spot? And I think if he's dinking and dunking like that, Conklin could be a good play.
I'm not a Conklin fan because I don't trust the Jets offense is sophisticated and dynamic enough where the tight end is going to get targets. I love Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's going to fall in love with Zach Wilson and vice versa. They're just going to be boys for like the next 3 years. And I like that play. I like the running backs, as I mentioned earlier. Breece Hall's starting to come on, but I'm not crazy about Conklin because is Zach Wilson really going to use him as the safety net or the pacifier that we expect? I don't think so.
Well, I agree with you, but there's also like the 30,000 foot view on the tight end position, right? It's like it depends on what your options are. Like, are you talking about this like in a daily lineup and like
very true. I'm still not crazy about it because I actually think that the Dolphins defense is decent at the secondary position and decent up the middle. Like their linebackers are decent in coverage.
But wouldn't you say the same about the Pittsburgh Steelers? I mean, he had 3 catches for 52 yards. That's 8.2 points in a PPR.
I don't agree as much about the Steelers in coverage right now. Like Minkah Fitzpatrick's been banged up. I love Holland for the Dolphins, and I think he's a great safety when it comes against tight ends. He's able to cover well. He crashes, and he's not someone who plays just around the line of scrimmage like a Budda Baker. It's one of the reasons I bring that out. And again, I'm more about, is Zach Wilson really going to be going through his progressions where the tight end comes out? I agree with you, Mike. It all depends on like, is someone out this week? I don't know if we've gotten to bye weeks yet. I don't think so. But are you getting to that point where you just need to fill the slot? That, someone to consider, but I'm not too high on him to answer Blease's question.
Yeah, I'm not huge on him, but I think it's one of those things. If you can get him for cheap and daily, you could throw a dart at that and fill your roster out with some better players or something like that. Yeah, I mean, season long, it's like 10, 12, 14. I mean, there's just so many different ways you could break this one down, but yeah.
So we're going to rattle through some of the other games going on this week. I'm going to go to Cleveland. The Chargers are 2-2. The Browns are 2-2. Chargers are 3-point favorites from what I see. Mike, obviously, will let you know what he's seeing elsewhere. Over under set at 47.5. When it comes to this game, I'm disappointed in how the Browns played last week, and the Chargers covered in a game I thought the Texans were going to have a backdoor cover on. So they impressed me a little bit. But to me, it's about who's available in the trenches. Is Myles Garrett playing? And obviously, there's no Joey Bosa. The line for the Chargers was hurt without Slater, but they played well last week. So I like the Chargers. I'd buy this down right now, and I take the Chargers to cover. That's definitely where I'm going early. I'll get to gambling trends in a moment. Mike, what do you have?
So I saw it opened at 2, and I'm seeing it at 3 right now. You got 70% of the money on Cleveland against the spread. I don't know what to think of this. I don't know what to think of these teams right now. I mean, I feel like my gut just tells me that the Chargers should be able to cover this, but this kind of game right here kind of falls in line with the Miami Jets.
Are you guys
game.
hearing Mike?
Like,
yeah, we can hear him.
Can you hear me? Okay. This kind of falls in line with the Miami Jets game, right? So this 3 number. I'll wait to see which way that number goes leading up to game time to give me a better idea of what I would want to do. Right now, I think I'd rather just kind of wait and see.
One of the reasons I picked these 2 games is I actually like where the line's at in terms of looking for opportunities throughout the week, and they're slightly more challenging games because they are teams in that middle pack of the AFC. And one of the things I like about this game is I think Keenan Allen's going to play this week. So if I can get the Chargers before that line movement floods over to their side, I think it's a good opportunity to give some gambling trends. The Browns are 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 home games. The Chargers are 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games on grass. The over is 4-1 in the Chargers' last 5 road games. So I like the Chargers to cover. I would buy that down early. I think the public money is gonna go towards their side. Once it does, then I may see for other opportunities to get it on both sides because I feel like this is going to be a 4-point game.
Yeah. So one thing I did notice here is that it opened at 2 and it went to 3, but money's coming in on Cleveland, so the number's actually moving the wrong way. So it's almost like
that's too bad.
It's a little bit of bait here for people to keep taking Cleveland. So
that's some reverse line movement.
Yeah, it's some reverse. There's some reverse line movement on this right here, which would tell you that maybe Vegas knows something here. They think they like the Chargers. Again, and that actually might be a good, where he was just saying, this might be a good spot to take the 3 points before the hook gets added or even goes to 4, based off of the reverse line movement. That actually might be a good play.
Blease, what you got for this game?
I just want to shout out our old friend Kelly. She was all over reverse line movement and would hammer that every time because, like you're saying, there's some information to be had.
That's Kelly in Vegas, right, Blease?
Kelly in Vegas, yes.
I mean, I used to make a living off of reverse line movement. I mean, like, it's so telling. It's so easy to at least put yourself in those high percentage positions.
But man, it's tough because Keenan Allen and then Herbert. That's a tough game for me. If I had to play it, I would play under. I think 48 is pretty high.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to get to. That does seem kind of high right now. Let's see what did it open at? It opened at 48. It's at 47.5. And money, it's coming in on the over. So that is actually going the wrong way too.
Interesting. One of the things I'm curious about this game is you have the West Coast team playing in that 1 p.m. slot. And I'm always curious about when they do make the travel east and have to play earlier in the day, How does that affect them? Are they a little bit slower to get the offense started? Something just always on my mind since I'm curious about those extra variables.
Yeah. So I mean, the reverse line movement here would tell you under. It's not major. It's just a little bit, but it still is the wrong way. So it's
No,
something.
I like that too. And I think we've caught a couple in these past 2 games in which part of the reason we're talking about them, there are opportunities to bet it based off of the line movement and obviously kind of before injuries come out or right after they come out. If you were able to get the Dolphins or rather the Jets at +6 earlier in the week, that's just an opportunity. And Tuesday presents those unlike Thursday or Friday. So it's one of the reasons I wanted to have this space and let people in on it. Matt, do you have any takes on this game?
Just that my gut wanted to take the Browns, and now the data's telling me otherwise, as I said before. So go Chargers. Charge up.
I think right now, if you were going to, it would be a good opportunity to take the Chargers right now. But leading up to the game, if you don't take them and you like something on this game, watch the movement and you can kind of go from there.
Exactly to Mike's point, one of the things I like to do is have different mindsets throughout the week. Tuesday is very different than Sunday morning, to the amount of information that's going to come out during the week, to how people are going to play it, to just the overall narrative and sentiment around these teams. And so to me, Tuesday is a good opportunity to kind of have a very sober approach to some of these bets and take it in the light of day before other information comes out. It's part of the reason, yes, I'm kind of expecting Keenan Allen to play, even if he doesn't. I just like where the Chargers are right now. I feel like that line's going to move. I know what we just talked about in terms of what's happening early, but I feel like ultimately I can get, again, both sides of this. If this moves too far in favor of the Chargers, I don't mind putting a unit or two down on the Browns. They're at home. It's probably going to be a Chubb Hunt kind of game. And and that only makes me like the under even more. So I feel like the under is definitely the play in this one.
Yeah. So quick trends that we can move on that I'm seeing here. So Browns are 2-8 against the money line. Their last 10 against the Chargers. Browns are 6-4 in spread bets in their last 10 against the Chargers, and the Browns are 6-4 in overs in their last 10 against the Chargers. So not a lot on the second two. Money line, there might be, this might be a big Chargers money line game here. Just if you wanted like a safe bet and didn't mind the juice. But
I'm going to move on to Chicago Bears and Minnesota Vikings. Bears are 2-2. Vikings are 3-1. What I saw on the spread was Vikings a 7-point favorite. Over under set at 44 points. The Minnesota Vikings are a different team at home. They're just a superior team. Whenever they're on the road or in prime time, that's when Kirk Cousins shrinks. But he's a different guy at home. And I think this is an opportunity for you to cash in on the home team. I know that there's been a lot of odds or data or stats that have come out about divisional opponents getting more than a touchdown. So obviously, I try to get Minnesota now. I'd buy that down now and get them at 5.5. But I think this is going to move up in favor of Minnesota. We've seen what the Bears' offense is and how lacking they are in the passing game. The offensive line is bad, and I think it's going to have a bad game in Minnesota with that crowd noise. So I like Minnesota on the money line. I like them to cover, but I'd buy it down now because I think the line movement is going to work against you. Mike, what do you think?
So everything looks pretty straightforward here on this. Opened at 6, it's at 7. Right now, 95% of the money is on Minnesota, right? So what I would pay attention to is see if money starts coming in on Chicago and if that bumps up. This might be I would be hard pressed to take this right now. You could buy the 1.5 like he likes to do. This would be one where I would actually like to wait and see if money starts coming in on Chicago. If that goes up, I'd be fine at even taking it at 7.5. I really like the Vikings in this game, but again, you could go by Wyatt's. If 7.5, you could pull it down to 6. 6 is another key number. I think that would be a really solid bet if this does have some reverse line movement here, which I really think it may.
One of the reasons I like this line right now, Mike, to that very point, is I'm getting them under 6 if I buy it now. And exactly how you're thinking. I'm expecting this to go to 7.5, maybe even 8 as the week plays out. And then I'm looking at the Bears again. I'm back to where I
Right.
was, where I'm buying the 1.5, and I'm getting the Bears on the other side of it, because I also expect this to be a close enough game. I do think this is a Justin Jefferson kind of game. And if Cody's here, I'm sure he'd tell me that anytime touchdown in favor of Justin Jefferson's a good bet, and I'm sure it is. But to me, this is an opportunity where you can get the Minnesota Vikings at 5.5. You can get the Bears at, let's say, 9. That is a great way of hedging yourself on both ends. Because I feel like that's exactly where it's going to play out. I think it's going to be an 8-point game difference. We just saw this in New York. The Bears play kind of an 8-point game difference kind of game, where they're within one score, but it will require a 2-point conversion as well. And I think that's kind of what we're going to see. The 44-point over-under, that's a tougher call for me, because that's about, is Kirk Cousins going to have a great game? I think he's just going to have a really good game. And so I think I like the under on that, because I think the Bears are going to try and slow this game down. So I could see this having a lot of Dalvin Cook on the Vikings side, a lot of Khalil Herbert on the Bears side. Obviously, Justin Fields running around for dear life. But I'm not crazy about the over-under in this, and I'm certainly not playing it early on. Just to give some gambling trends real quick, the Bears are 1-3-1 against the spread in their last 5 games overall, and the over is 5-1 in the Vikings' last 6 home games. To me, that just speaks to the Vikings are a better team at home and their offense is better. One of the reasons I like betting it this way. Mike, do you have any take on the over-under play?
I feel the same as you. I don't really feel too great about it. It opened at 43. Money's come in on the under, and it's gone up to 44. So I don't know. I mean, I don't like that at all. I like the Vikings.
The Vikings are definitely the play.
I'm not focused too much on this over under here. I'm more focused on the Vikings. This just screams disgusting blowout to me.
That's the one concern I have if the line moves too high, is that I'm going to take the Bears and Kirk Cousins is just going to have a 3-touchdown explosion quarter at some point with Justin Jefferson. But I'm still hoping that I can wedge it.
I just don't think it's going to go to 8. I don't think it's going to go to 8. That's why I think you're safe to wait. I mean, it's, you can play it either way, but like I still think, like, because the way I like to do things is I like to have information. So where you like to jump on bets early, which is smart. Like I know a lot of people are really successful doing that. I like to have as much information before I do it. You can also play the game where you bet one way, hedge later. I mean, there's
that's really to call myself out. That's really the angle I'm taking, which is I'm going on both. I like to do it early because I actually think that's where Vegas is giving you your greatest opportunity early on.
Right.
Think about it as the arcade game where the basketball hoop is closest to you and then moves away. I feel like on Tuesday, it's my greatest chance to just put up a little bit of a layup and I can get it in. That said, I'm with you on that. On Sunday morning, when we go through our Twitter space, I like to put in separate bets there, because that's where I know who's actually going to be playing injury-wise. I get a sense of the weather. We saw in the past weekend how big a factor that can play. So really, I like to have 2 buckets to of capital to play off of. One that's for early as the line opens and Vegas is giving me my opportunity before public money or other factors sway things. And then I like Sunday morning, where obviously I'm getting it with the most amount of knowledge possible. And then it's, okay, I'm playing not just against Vegas, but I'm playing against the public at that point. Has the public worked in my favor, or has it fought against me? To the point in this game and the few games that we've covered, I know, in the hour I expected to do this, we're not going to get to all these games, but I called out specific games because I actually feel like there's opportunities to either get both sides of it, or you're getting an advantage early on, because it does seem so obvious that there may be a slight play over the next couple of days, especially early in the week, to kind of take a chance on what is the favorite And then as the week goes on, get the underdog. And that's a nice way to kind of play your 2 weekends if you're up for it.
Yeah. And this could be a good one to get both ends of it. You could get, 5.5 and 9.5. I mean, that's like potentially, you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
That could be money in the bank right there. Like that could be it's almost a guarantee. It's just a guaranteed easy watch. Just let it play out and let it happen.
I'm going to add another game into the mix that I think is a great play on both ends potentially. And again, may surprise you, 2-2 Falcons against the 2-2 Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are 9-point favorites at home. The over-under set at 48 points. The number I want to focus on in this game is the 48 points. Did you know that the Atlanta Falcons are a team in which they are 4-0 against the spread this year? The only team that's 4-0 against the spread this year. And so it's a game in which I like them on the over. They're scoring the most overs. They've had an over in all 4 of their games, and they've covered the spread in all 4 of their games. And I could see the same thing happening here. The Buccaneers are going to be healthier at wide receiver. Godwin, Evans, that's where I expect over the course of the week. To your point, Mike, where's the public money going to come down? Where's the information going to come down? It's going to come down in favor of Tampa Bay. But I think the Falcons are an interesting play later in the week. Earlier in the week, 9 points is a really interesting spot. But I like the over. I think the over in this game, as long as the weather, check what the weather's going to be. It's Tampa. Who knows what's going on? But that said, 48 points, I actually think that's a spot to play the over in this game.
So there is reverse line movement on the spread. As of right now, went from 8.5 to 9 is what I'm seeing, and 77% of the money is on Atlanta against the spread.
And that stat's getting around. I'm not the only one who has the Falcons are 4-0 against the spread this season. They're quickly becoming a spread cover darling.
Yeah.
The Lions were last week until their luck ran out, as I experienced. But the Falcons are definitely under everyone's spotlight. It makes it interesting for me. That said, to give some gambling trends, Bucks are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games against the NFC South. The Falcons are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games in Tampa Bay. And the over is 7-1 in their last 8 meetings. And that's the trend that's really got my attention. These two teams play high-scoring games, and they've been playing high-scoring games in Atlanta this season. Tampa Bay should have their wide receivers healthier. Makes me just believe in the over that much more.
Yeah. I mean, the Buccaneers defense is good. They haven't been as good as they started. I like the over here as well. It seems kind of like a big number for a Tampa game, but Atlanta their offense is wild, man. Arthur Smith and fucking Marcus Mariota. I'm a Titans fan, right? Full disclosure. So yeah, this guy couldn't score a fucking point when he played for us, but now he's, high powered, all this shit. So
they designed an offense that's more for the current NFL, where when he was with Tennessee, he was almost a little ahead of his time. Not that he's, spectacular, but he certainly was. He's a better fit now. I do also think that the loss of Cordero Patterson will play a factor in this game, obviously. But I also think from a fantasy standpoint that you could get Algier, the running back, who's going to take a lot of his carries, and he could be a good waiver wire pickup. That's Tyler Algier, the running back for Atlanta. So if you guys are looking for an extra running back to stash on your bench, I don't think he's necessarily a good play this week. To Mike's point about the Bucs have a decent run defense, but I like Algier as someone you could pick up while Patterson is on the IR.
Yeah, and Tyler Algier is a good running back. I mean, he played at BYU with Zach Wilson over there, and he balled his ass off. He's a really good running back, a rookie. So I like that. I like that call though as a stash. Not this week though. Don't.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I'll put out waiver wire picks on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, and I want to make note, waiver wire is sometimes not for that week. Hopefully you have a bench in which you can substitute people for that week, but really the waiver wire is preparing for the season. It's preparing for the next week. It's taking advantage of who's available so other teams can't get them, or injuries are coming up so you can pick up someone who could be an RB2 or an easy flex play as the season plays out. I'll get to some of those as we continue. I didn't mention one earlier that I wanted to bring up, which is I missed it earlier. It's Naheem Hines. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Cordell Patterson, I think that kind of swayed me on the line, but I just want to say Justin Fields, we're riding 60 passes. He's going to be throwing deep bombs. Open the playbook.
60 passes. 60 passes. He's lucky if he has 60 passes over the next 3 weeks of the season. I mean, the chance.
60,
why
60
did he go under last week?
Darnell Mooney.
I don't actually know. I know it was the lowest. It was the lowest total that had ever been set on the books for passing yards. I don't know if he hit it. I'd love to find out. I feel like he went the over, because otherwise I feel like everyone would have been making fun of him. But he had a couple deep passes. He had that one deep pass to, was it Mooney? Matthew, go ahead, man. I got you.
I'm pretty sure it went over in the first half, and then I would also take some. I know we're not huge on props, but the Bears have let up over 100 rushing yards to different running backs in the 3 out of the first 4 weeks. I think Mattinson probably scores a touchdown, and obviously Dalvin Cook's probably going to have a field day too.
I like that.
I'm a huge Vikings fan, so I'm hoping that they blow out the Bears, and will also be placing a large wager there.
So Fields went over 174 yards.
Yeah, over in the first half. Matthew, thanks for the stats, and also good luck to your Vikings. I mean, if they could go 4-1, I feel like people would jump on that bandwagon so fast. And I won't be one of them, because with the Vikings, it's always a tale of two Kirks. Is he at home or is he on the road? And if he's in prime time, like, hide your wife, hide your kids.
Yeah.
But that said, I do like the Vikings this week. And again, a number of the games we've talked about, I feel like there's an easy money line play. And if you just want to build parlays with favorites this week, like the Packers, like the Broncos, the Vikings, and the Bucks, I think you'll be in good shape. Or, add the Dolphins to that. I think you'll be in good shape. You could build a parlay pyramid that had all of those teams, and I think you could feel pretty confident. That said, if you're making individual bets, or if you're trying to sprinkle in smaller parlay plays, this is part of the reason I bring up the Tuesday bets. You can get good lines on spreads, which obviously helps your odds overall, so you can just get more out of your ticket. Moving on to a couple games in the 4 p.m. window, and we'll do the prime time since we're running out of time. A game in the 4 p.m. window that actually has my attention is the Dallas Cowboys, 3-1 against the Los Angeles Rams. I feel like, to me, that's the only game in the 4 p.m. window I care about. 49ers and Panthers. We could talk about it, and we will on Sunday. Will be interesting to see a West Coast team go east, but so what? And meanwhile, the Philly Eagles are going out to the desert in Arizona. Again, how does the clock impact things? But the best game of the 4 p.m. window is the Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are a 4-point favorite. Again, this is why I love betting on Tuesdays. The Rams are a 4-point favorite, despite what we saw last night. The over-under is set at 43.5 points. This is an opportunity where I'm buying 1.5 points, and I'm taking Dallas. And I'm getting Dallas 5.5. And I feel like this is a really good opportunity. I'm just not impressed right now with how the Rams are playing. I think their defense isn't as strong as it was last year. I think Cooper Kupp is being over-targeted, if that's possible. And Allen Robinson, can we get out the wanted sign and put it on milk cartons? Because Allen Robinson is nowhere. And I have a real problem with how Sean McVay is actually calling the offense. He's not acting like the genius I expected him to be. It's a lot of Matt Stafford drops back, and he looks for Cooper Kupp. So I'm not crazy about the Rams at all right now. And I feel like the Dallas defense is a top 5 defense that can, first of all, Cody, shout out. Take the over Stafford interceptions. Lock it.
Is it a half again?
I'm assuming it is. Bovada. Most of these interceptions are set at over under a half. Obviously, then it's about what's it set at. I'm sure that's at like minus 210.
Wait. So I feel like we just need to just quit placing bets on anything other than Stafford over a half interception every single week. Just put the house on it. Like you'll end up like plus 10 houses.
Kirk Cousins on the road over half an interception. Matt Stafford anywhere on planet Earth over half an interception.
Yes, that's wild.
So, anyways, talk about some prop bets that you can put in now on Tuesday and wait for your money to cash on Sunday. But I like Dallas in this game to cover. The 43.5 is an interesting one for me because I'm considering the under. And again, you've already heard my prop bet, giving some gambling trends. The Cowboys are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 road games. The Rams are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 home games. The under is 5-1-1 in the Cowboys' last 7 road games. The over is 4-1 in the last 5 meetings. So some gambling trends for you that indicate to me it's Cowboys against the spread. And for me, I like the under in part because I like the Dallas defense so much, shutting down the Rams offense right now. And if Aaron Donald and the Rams defense slows Tony Pollard and Zeke, great. It only helps my underplay that much more. Mike, what do you think about it?
So I agree with you, and I'm seeing it at 4.5 everywhere.
Thank you. Love it. Please, yeah. America, do me the favor.
Exactly. So I love 4.5. This just has like 17-13 written all over it. Whether it's Dallas winning or the Rams. I almost like Dallas, like just outright. They're just so sound. I mean, it's weird to think about like Cooper Rush and that. It's like they just you after 4 weeks, you kind of just know what you're going to get from them. Like,
isn't it amazing that instead of saying we know what we're going to get from the Cowboys and it's not pure disappointment, it's like consistent play and like no turnovers and like solid defense. Like, what's happening with the world?
Like it's just like kind of like it's just defense and running the football with some with some CeeDee Lamb sprinkled in there. It's kind of old school and it's efficient and it works. And they have so many athletes on the defensive side of the ball. It's crazy. And honestly, I don't know how this is over 3-point spread. I get it. It's in LA, or like, I don't know. I mean,
that's not a home game. That like Cowboys are probably.
That's right. I was just about to say, Blease, that's a great call.
Wait, it's in LA, right?
It's in LA, but to Blease's point, like,
Dallas
Cowboy country,
right.
LA and California,
sure.
If there are 2 teams that California roots for, it's the Raiders and it's the Cowboys. It's not the 49ers and the Rams and the Chargers. 100%. So I think to that point, you're going to get some crowd noise every time Stafford's on the field. Only helps me with the over prop bet on interceptions.
Yeah.
Do you have the odds on
I like Dallas here, and I like the under. This, like I said, this just has 17-13 kind of game written all over it to me.
I like a pick 6. Like, I could totally see Diggs taking one to the house. I could totally see Micah Parsons sacking Stafford, and it's picked up for a score. So again, sometimes I like to throw like half a unit on a defensive touchdown because you get great odds for it. So if you're really trying to be a degenerate gambler, like Fumble Sports is, that's just one way that you can join the club.
There you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so if you're taking Stafford, like Diggs, is there odds on like particularly Diggs getting an interception there? Because I could definitely see that happening.
Blease, I assume that if you comb through the gambling apps and websites that you can find a prop bet for pretty much anything. I have to check. I like to go through Bovada. No sponsorship, but I've just been using Bovada for years. That said, I may be on there. They usually have offensive stats like that. Usually they don't have an anytime. Maybe they have an anytime interception. But I know they have anytime touchdowns, so that's definitely something I'm going to get on. I like CeeDee Lamb in this game as well. I know he's matched up with Jalen Ramsey, but I feel like he could get a red zone target as well. We're going to move now to the Sunday night game between the Bengals and the Ravens. Bengals are 2-2. Ravens are 2-2. Much different week fours for them. The Bengals come back at home against the Tua-less Dolphins and even things up after they started the season as just an embarrassment. They're back to even. Meanwhile, the Ravens could have been easily 4-0, but because of some decisions by Harbaugh and execution by Lamar Jackson in the red zone, they're a 2-2 team, and now they're a 3-point favorite in Baltimore, over under set at 48.5. This is a game that's a bit more challenging for me to pick early in the week. To Mike's point, the games I like to pick on Tuesday have a much bigger spread and feel like greater opportunities. This one is a coin flip game to me, and so the 3-point spread in favor of Baltimore seems right given they're the home team. But I could easily see the Bengals coming in there and getting a win. They have the extra rest from playing on Thursday night last week. I really liked what I saw from Burrow at times. I hated the play calling. I thought Zach Taylor's play calling was dreadful. Too many run plays, forcing it too much on the ground. But when Joe Burrow can go find T. Higgins and Boyd, and most importantly, Jamar Chase, the Bengals are just a good team. And the Ravens don't have a good secondary between injuries and scheme and the like. I just don't like the Ravens very much right now, but I love Lamar Jackson. So 3 points is the right play right now. I could see this going either way on the money line. So maybe that means I'm betting the Bengals today and just getting good plus points on it. But Mike, what do you think about this before I get to gambling trends?
So there's just the slightest reverse line movement. I mean, it's almost negligible, but yeah, I don't know. This is wait. We gotta. I'm with you. This could go either way. These AFC North matchups. Yeah, I'll tell you what I like. I like the under. I feel like I know these two teams are high powered in a lot of ways. Can be. I know Bengals haven't been the craziest, but it's there. 48.5. I like the under there right now. I want to see a little bit more here. This isn't a game that I love a whole lot. This is kind of these are just really tough games to figure out for me.
I love this game from a quality football standpoint in terms
absolutely.
of watching. This is one of my favorite games of the weekend, but I'm totally with you. I went to it because it's the Sunday night game, and we'll do the Monday night game as well to cap the show. But that said, this is a tougher game for me to bet, especially on a Tuesday early in the week. I do want more information. I don't feel the same way about the over-under that you do, Mike. I like it in terms of what I've seen from primetime. I mentioned it earlier. There's just been more defensive play, fewer flags, less offense in primetime. So for that reason, maybe I buy it up to 50 points right now and take the under. But I'm really not touching this game right now. To give you some gambling trends, the Bengals are 9-1 against the spread in their last 10 games against the AFC. The Ravens are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games following an against the spread loss. The road team is 5-2 against the spread in the last 7 meetings between the two teams. And the under is 7-0 in the Bengals' last 7 games against the AFC. So that kind of goes to Mike's point about the under. I like the two offenses, and I'm not crazy right now about the way the two defenses are playing. I know the Bengals showed up more last week than maybe we expected, but was that a result of the Dolphins not having Tua in the second half? So I think the Bengals, I think the Ravens defense is a mess right now. I really don't. Where's the talent? Like who's the defensive star right now on the Ravens? In the past, we always had a defensive star at linebacker. There usually was a defensive star in the trenches, and there was always a safety. I shouldn't say that. Kyle Hamilton's a stud. The rookie safety that they got out of Notre Dame, that was a steal in the draft. That dude's going to be amazing. But that said, I'm not as excited about the Ravens defense this year as I have been in the past. And I just think these are two offenses with quarterbacks who could just go off. And I feel like this is a game in which the under will be bet because everyone's been talking about the primetime stat. It might be an opportunity to play the under. I might be chasing it, though.
Yeah, I'd rather just watch this game and enjoy it, I think, as of right now.
Yeah, and I just want to point up to the poll up there. Who is the butt of NFL Week 4? There's 4 hours left. If you want to vote on that, I thought that was pretty funny. And looks like there's a tie right now. And I voted for the Ravens on that one. I don't know what Hardball was doing there. Some people were arguing that it was the right call to go for the touchdown and not take the points. But yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I'm gonna sit and wait, like you're saying.
I can't believe Harbaugh didn't take the points.
Yeah.
And I understand how disappointing it is to get down to the 2 yard line or inside the 2 yard line and have to settle for 3 points. But I think there is just a lack of rationality in today's NFL. This is one rant that I make almost every NFL Sunday. Why aren't coaches taking more points? There's just points on the board. If every drive, the worst you do is 3 points, I feel like you're going to be okay. I know you're not going to complete every drive. Sometimes that's disappointing. And sometimes you lose by 4 points because you didn't get the touchdown. But if you can't get a touchdown in the amount of time it takes to get the drive on 3 downs inside the red zone, just take the points, because usually the difference is you going for it and coming up short. And I just don't understand. Analytics be damned. I feel like the pace of the game, when you get points, what's one of the other things you do? You kick off. You reset things. Sometimes when you go for it and you get it, great, you're kicking off anyways. But when you get stopped, momentum swings so hard. So even if you have a lead, it doesn't matter. Like the Bills, the moment that stop happened, did anyone doubt that the Bills were going to win that game? I felt like it was a sure thing. And if nothing else, I feel like it's better to go one more round, especially when you're at home. So I could go off on this topic all day, but I'll stop. We're going to shift over, since this game isn't too exciting from a betting standpoint. And we'll close out the show on Monday Night Football. The Las Vegas Raiders, 1-3, finally did me right and got the win that I have been waiting 4 weeks for. And the Kansas City Chiefs, 3-1, impressive against the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Chiefs are 7.5-point favorites where I saw it. Over under set at 51 points. Talk about an atmosphere that's going to live up to the hype. Arrowhead on Monday night with the Raiders in town. I just think the Chiefs are an easy money line play. Let's just get that out of the way right now. As for the over under, 7.5 points is a lot of points to be given to a Raiders team that is talented. I know they're 1-3, but they do have a good roster. They're not complete dog shit or booty cheeks, to go quote Mark. But that said, I like buying up the 1.5, waiting the week out, depending on what Mike says about where the public money is going right now. But I want to take the Raiders, especially if that 7.5 can swell up. I like the Raiders to cover on the road.
So I've got it at 7. 7. I'm only seeing 2 books that have it at 7.5 out of 10 here. 85% of the money is on Kansas City. Opened at 6.5, went to 7, so that lines up. I think this is the Wyatt spot where you buy the 1.5 and take Kansas City.
Mike, when is it not the Wyatt Butt Fumble Sports play to take the 1.5? Don't you love security, Mike?
Yeah,
like, don't you love taking a chance in sports betting and then feeling like you bought extra rope to the noose?
I'm a fucking degenerate. I am a degenerate. I don't buy shit. Okay. I either take it or I don't. That's just
all right. Well, while you bodega it and do it on the cheap, I'm gonna go 7-Eleven and go one step above it and just go a little corporate brandish and buy the 1.5. So I feel like I'm buying a well-known spread. It just makes me feel a little bit better.
So yeah, I mean, I do like the Chiefs. And honestly, I kind of would be okay just taking the 7 and pushing too. At the chance that I just think that they probably, I think they're going to win this game by 10 or so. It just feels that way to me. I don't believe in the Raiders. I think the Broncos, just that game last week, I don't know. I mean,
it was Russell Wilson post Subway sandwich, and you can just feel a letdown. Yeah,
it's just uninspiring, regardless of the fact that they won or not. So I do I'd lean Kansas City. I don't, again, this isn't a game that I love right now. Let's see how where that number goes. The over under opened at 50.5. 93% of the money is on the over, and it moved up to 51. So it's just a slight bump. And I'm sure this game's got some money on it. So to me, that maybe could have been moved up to 51.5. It hasn't moved a lot. So makes me like the under. Like, I'm almost inclined just to go under on Sunday night and Monday night, and just seeing what happens.
That's so rain cloud on a Sunday picnic right there, because it's like two of the best games of the weekend in terms of offense. You have a lot of stars, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to say Derek Carr, who could care, but you have Devontae Adams. You just have a lot of star power on offense, and so you would think there's going to be a lot of points.
I mean,
but you're definitely leaning into the primetime curse of the under.
If this stays at 51 and then money stays this heavily, I love the under.
We have breaking news. Aaron Judge has hit home run number 62. College football fans, you can officially go back to your regularly scheduled programming for Saturday. You no longer have to watch that. But he has officially done it. So for all those who want to go check it out, feel free. I will give gambling trends back to the NFL for a quick second. The Raiders are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games overall. The Chiefs are 7-1-1 against the spread in their last 7 Monday night games. Mike, I shout out you when I say that. Again, that's 7-1-1 against the spread in the Chiefs' last 9 Monday night games. So they play well in the spotlight. The home team is 8-3 against the spread in the last 11 meetings, and the over is 4-0 in the last 4 meetings. So obviously, I think the Chiefs on the money line is a great play, but I think there's going to be offense in this one. I think the NFL is actually going to want this game to be a show out. I think Carr and Adams are going to have a big game. So I like this to be an over. I like the Chiefs on the money line. I like Chiefs at 6 and under, and I like the Raiders at like 9 and over. So I'm kind of looking to play it both ways, because I'm kind of with you. I actually think it's going to end up being a 7-point game, 8-point game difference to me. So I think the Chiefs win comfortably, but it could be an opportunity to bet at both sides.
Yeah, I personally like the Chiefs even at 7. If it goes to 6.5, I love it. I would lean under. I mean, just if the public money stays here, I'm leaning under. I can't go against that. But yeah, I like the Chiefs.
So with that said, that's going to close out our before I do, Blease, you got any takes on this game? Okay, good. He doesn't. With that said, I appreciate everyone joining this space. Good luck in your gambling and your fantasy this week. Hit us up on TikTok at Fumble Sports, on Twitter at Sports Fumble. Subscribe on YouTube. We're on Spatial. We're doing all of that. So thanks for joining, and good luck this week with your bets.
GG's.
Later, Mike.